Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hellacious Hero Returns. I am Hellacious Hero Joe, and today I want to ask you guys what's best in life. What's that? To what? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of the women. Yes, Conan. Amazing. He's fantastic. I love Conan so much. You know, an amazing character, a barbarian. Fantastic just to be an alpha male. Schwarzenegger impersonation aside, today is really about this story right here. This cool crossover with Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman Conan. A Dark Horse and DC crossover, which is really good. I mean, I like it a lot. It's not perfect. I want to get that out of the way. It's not perfect by any means, but a really cool story. Really neat how they kind of cross paths and come to know each other and work together and do things. Let me give you a backstory about Conan real quick if you're not familiar. And that's one of the criticisms I have with this book as well, the way they treat Conan. And I'm going to talk about Conan real quick because I love Conan the Barbarian. First time I was introduced to Conan, obviously, was as a kid. In the 1990s growing up, movie places used to be open. Blockbuster, Family Video, Movie Gallery, all those places. So you would go rent movies and watch a movie with your family or your friends. And I remember renting Conan the Barbarian. And I watched it with my friends, actually. A couple friends, and we loved it. I mean, we were hooked after that. And as I said in earlier episodes, I really love fantasy, but I was more into the, high fantasy stuff like Tolkien and some of the more, child literature fantasy stuff like Prydain and Narnia, and Last Unicorn and Alice in Wonderland and Wizard of Oz and that kind of stuff. So this kind of got me into, Tolkien is pretty deep, but this kind of got me into the mature fantasy realm, and you guys can see the giant weight back there from Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is really cool too, and I kind of want to talk about that for a second, because what it reminds me of, sort of, is like if you took, Conan the Barbarian, the Hyborian Age, and mixed it with Tolkien, and you were like, that's Game of Thrones. It's sword and sorcery and, high fantasy, just fused together. So I love both. Some of my favorite Conan works and runs, because obviously as I watched the movie Conan the Barbarian, then Conan the Destroyer, Call the Conqueror when I was a kid with Kevin Sorbo, who played Hercules in Hercules: The Legendary Journeys, which was amazing, by the way. Love that show as a kid. And Xena Warrior Princess with Lucy Lawless. Whew, speaking of Wonder Woman, or a Wonder Woman, yeah, I crushed hard on Lucy Lawless as a kid. It might have been my first crush, actually. She still is, smoking. Woo, love her. But, yeah. Favorite comic book run with Conan. Love the Marvel years. Absolutely incredible. Phenomenal work. But my personal favorite run, because, again, it's a nostalgia thing, and this is what I first read when I was younger, was not these actual trade paperbacks, but the original comics. And then I bought them on these trade paperback omnibus editions later. I think it was 2003 or 2004 that I started reading Conan comics. And this is when Dark Horse Comics had the license for Conan. Maybe 6 months to a year after that, I started reading the stories with Kurt Busiek. Phenomenal stories with just called Conan. The series is called Conan. I think there's 50 issues, and he wrote 33 or 34 of the 50 issues. So he played a big role in it. But these, if you want to read some Conan stuff, these are amazing. Outside of the Marvel stuff, that Marvel had in the 70s. And Conan's actually back at Marvel now, if you didn't know. They reacquired the license in 2019, I believe. And then started writing new Conan stories that same year. So they didn't wait to utilize Conan, which is awesome, because more Conan stories is amazing, right? But these three omnibi, plural for omnibus, I don't know, is it? They are the dark horse. And those three in particular deal with, like I said, Kurt's work, which is absolutely phenomenal. Love him. He did so much stuff. Kurt, he did a lot of stuff with DC. He did a ton of stuff with Marvel. He had his own Avengers storyline. He did stuff with Image. He did stuff with Dynamite, the people who do Days of Thor now, and Red Sonja, and he did a ton of stuff, and I love his writing. He's fantastic. So if you're interested in Conan comics outside of, you know, the old Marvel stuff or the main Conan continuity, we got that, right? Dark Horse comic stuff, and then Marvel actually right now is working on Savage Avengers. Conan teams up with Venom, Punisher, Elektra, Wolverine, and I don't know who else because I haven't read the story yet, but I want to get my hands on it so bad. It looks amazing, it looks incredible, looks savage, you know, to say the least. But I just have a backlog of comics right now I'm working through, and that's on my list. But back to the story. The criticism of this story is, like I said, how Gail Simone, who, by the way, is an amazing writer, love her, she can really write a story. She's an amazing storyteller. She did stuff with Birds of Prey for DC, Batgirl, and Wonder Woman. She did some really good Wonder Woman stories for DC, and she writes Red Sonja comics for Dynamite. She's done a slew of them, and I think she still might be the writer for it, or somebody might have just recently taken over for her. But she did a slew of Red Sonja stuff, which is related to this, you know, Conan. Interesting tie-ins, right? But what happens in this book? You're probably going to wonder, do these two guys hook up? You know, or something happens in there? Maybe you'll see when I show you guys the variants, as I usually do, right? We're going to wait for the variants, though. My main criticism of Wonder Woman Conan is how Conan is portrayed in this. Is he a badass? Yes. Does he kill people? Yes. But he's not the alpha male, the head honcho in the story, which is cool. I mean, that's fine. It's cool that Wonder Woman has a part to play in it, and you know she's in it. But if you guys know anything about Conan, like I just mentioned, with Robert E. Howard's works and the stuff even Robert Jordan did, and Elsbro de Camp, and Kurt Busiek, and all that stuff, and the movies with Schwarzenegger, he's like just a badass. You know, he doesn't give two shits about anything. He's a barbarian. You know, and at the beginning, when I did the thing with the sword, you know, crush your enemies, sit him driven before you, and hear the lamentations of the women. He's unique in a way that you have to learn how to survive on your own. And you can't trust anybody. You can't be tied down to anyone or anything, because, I mean, look at Conan's story. You know, loss and that kind of stuff with his father dying was a huge thing. But it didn't faze him. That's what's so great about Conan. Like, he never gets fazed. Like, he just continues down the path, becomes the biggest and the strongest he can possibly be, and continues to conquer over and over again. Conan the Conqueror, right? He conquers things. Every goal that's put in front of him, every obstacle, he finds a way around it, and he conquers it. It's just what he does. So this story kind of makes him more relatable to a certain extent, I guess, to characters like Wonder Woman and, you know, other comic book characters. The premise of the story is Wonder Woman is, I guess she knew Conan as a kid, or she reminded Conan of this girl he knew when he was a kid, and it's kind of like it tells it in like flashback format where Conan and, you know, presumably it's Wonder Woman are kids together, and they do all kinds of stuff together. They hang out together. They run through, you know, fields and meadows and go on adventures and stuff together. But Conan loses her. He doesn't know, you know, how to cope with it. You know, he's just, my long lost love, I'll never be the same. And kind of turns him into this romantic, like, I hate to say it, but crybaby, you know. And that part of it for me is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of hokey. It's kind of like, that's not Conan. You read it and you're like, Conan? What? Conan's crying about a woman? Really? Conan is a barbarian. He goes out, does what he needs to do, finishes his task, goes on to the next one. He doesn't, like, if he wants something, he takes it. He doesn't cry and whine, and piss around. He just, if he wants something, he's gonna take it. And if somebody challenges him to take it, he's gonna kill that person and cut their head off and, carry it around and go, he's a barbarian. That's what he does. So her treatment of the character Conan in that story is kind of lacking for me, I have to say. So I gotta dock a couple points for that. But I give the title itself because it is kind of cool to see Wonder Woman and Conan interact with each other. It's like an 8 out of 10 for me. It's an 8 out of 10. The art is incredible, and I'll show you guys here some variants. Like I said, the art is absolutely incredible. Art on the inside and some of the variants, and you guys can judge for yourself what you think about it. That's my favorite art in the entire book right there. Wonder Woman and Conan. Yeah, getting naughty with each other. Ooh. You guys are probably asking what are these crows and that crow above there for? There's two ancient gods that are sisters in this, who are like gods of chaos and destruction and that kind of thing, and they basically just want entertainment, so that's kind of why these two come together and they fight each other. And this one here is just like the cover, right? Pretty cool. And that's pretty much the art. The story kind of is in the Hyborian age, and Wonder Woman doesn't really have any recollection of who she is or why she's there, and it kind of starts off with Conan coming across these people who have this prisoner tied down, and he kind of kills all of them because they challenge him, because the guy's like, please help me. And they're like, where you going, stranger, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'm going to set this guy free, and I'm going to kill everybody here. And he does. Because he's Conan. And that's Conan right there, right? That's him. But then, like, after that scene, it kind of just, like, goes into Wonder Woman in the arena, and it talks about this backstory of them knowing each other as kids, and how when Conan lost her as a kid, he was devastated, and how he can't hurt her because he loves her so much. It's a good story. It's a really good story. It reminds me of Batman versus Superman, the movie, and how, Ben Affleck looked awesome as Batman, and the scene in there where he's fighting people in that warehouse in that stockroom is amazing, but other than that, and a couple other, appearances by him, and him putting the suit on and, beating the shit out of Superman, Batman vs. Superman, let's be honest here, was pretty much Man of Steel 2. I mean, it was a sequel to Man of Steel. It was a Superman movie, is what I'm trying to say. It was a Superman movie with Batman in it. The Batman part of Batman vs. Superman was very, very small compared to the whole story about Superman being a god and how, we can't trust him and we need to create something here that's going to stop him, and, kind of had like a reverse Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller thing where it's Batman, he's going around like beating the crap out of vigilantes and stuff, and Superman was the one who had to stop Batman and that kind of thing, and he was standing in Batman's way of getting what he needed done. It was kind of like a reverse of that. But it to put Batman versus Superman, it was kind of like, just call it Man of Steel 2, right? And I love Zack Snyder. And I love the stuff Zack Snyder does. I love 300, another Frank Miller. I love, Watchmen and that movie. And I really like Man of Steel, too, the movie. But then you get BVS and you got Justice League, and I was like, ah. But that's what this story reminds me of. This story reminds me of, only, I will say this story is better than Batman vs. Superman and Justice League. As a DC fan, I mean, this story kicks ass. You can make this a movie and I'd be like, yeah, it was pretty badass. 8 out of 10 for me. The art is amazing throughout. The reason I'm docking points, if Conan would have been himself in this, it could have been 9. A 9. It's not perfect by any means. I think she's awesome. Love the character. Love Gal Gadot. Love her rendition of the character. Gorgeous, gorgeous woman. Love her. But it's kind of like what they did. Let me put it this way. I love Jason Momoa, too. I loved him in Aquaman. Love that movie. Loved him in that movie. Love him as Aquaman. Really put, some energy and rejuvenation into the character. But like when he did Conan, for example, the movie in its own right was good. It was okay. It was a decent movie. I'd watch it. Would I recommend it? Yes, I would. It's something cool. It's an action flick. There's action. It's Momoa. He's hilarious. He's great. He's good in it. But in that movie, they tried to give Conan like a soft, bubbly, kind of more relatable human side. To where he's going out doing these missions and stuff for whatever reason. And they kind of did that in the first Conan movie with Schwarzenegger too, but not so much. Conan doesn't get tied down. Conan, he plows through everything and conquers it. He doesn't let anything hold him back. Grief and loss and that kind of stuff are normal for him. It doesn't matter. And that's kind of why this was like, I lost my long-lost love. Ugh. And I know I'm ranting about that, but that's the issue I have with it. That is the issue I have with it. As always, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Always do you. Take care of yourself. And stick around till after the credits to see what I have planned next. Really, what could be next for the Hellacious Hero Returns? Who knows? It could be anything, right?